Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're back with some more NFL DFS picks and lineup advice for tonight's single game showdown slate, Monday Night Football, Arizona Cardinals, New England Patriots. Welcome. I'm Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. And in this video, we're going to talk about the injuries that impact the showdown slate on FanDuel and DraftKings, low risk and high risk lineup construction tips, general strategies for single game contests, everything you need for tonight's game. Before we get started, though, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Give us a thumbs up if you like the video. Any questions, comment on the video below. We'll get back to you before the slate starts tonight at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. So let's jump right into it because there are a couple of injuries and a couple of mispricings that really, truly impact the slate. So if we start on DraftKings and we start from the highest price to the lowest price, the most impactful probably is Damian Harris is doubtful once again. He will not play tonight. When he has been out of the lineup, we have seen complete domination of the running back workload by Ramondre Stevenson. If you watched our video the last time the Patriots played, it was a showdown slate. We talked about how we expected Stevenson to play maybe every single snap in that game against Buffalo. And he basically did. He conceded one carry to back up Kevin Harris, and he handled the rest of the opportunities. 10 rushing attempts, 8 targets, and that was in a game that they couldn't do much on offense. Probably a little less resistance tonight. But either way, Stevenson, depending on where you look and depending on how your projections shake out, by most projection systems, just raw projections, he projects as the highest scoring player on tonight's slate. Yet, he is the 5th highest priced player on DraftKings. And if we go over to FanDuel, he is the 3rd highest priced player, but he probably should be number 1. When you're averaging 8 targets a game over your last 3, when the number 1 receiver on your team is also out, when you handle all of the goal line work, when all the other studs in the game haven't been nearly as consistent or shown a true ceiling, he should be the most popular by a wide margin, rightfully so, and he should be way more expensive, $2,000 to $3,000 more expensive on each site, so we have to take advantage of that where we can. Now, speaking of his teammate, Jacoby Myers was in and out of that game against Buffalo with a shoulder injury, hurt his head late, has a concussion. He will not play tonight. So he, along with Ramondre, are tied with the team lead in targets for the season. So that obviously opens up some weapons in the passing game. That should mean more targets for Devontae Parker, their number 1 receiver now. It will definitely mean more targets for Nelson Agholor, who, when Jacoby Myers left that game early and was in and out against Buffalo, it was actually Nelson Agholor who took over that slot role. If I can find him on the screen, there he is. And we saw him just 3 targets, not a ton of targets, but he was in and out of that game. Minnesota as well. So he will, it was actually the Minnesota game where Jacoby Myers went down on that showdown slate. And Aguilar saw 8 targets instead. Last week against Buffalo, Jacoby Myers did play. But Aguilar will handle the slot role with Jacoby Myers out. It also means more rotational snaps for Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton just $1,400. He'll run more routes tonight. And Kendrick Bourne, if we can find him, there he is, $5,400. Now, he's priced up more than the other two, so he'll be way less popular than both Aguilar and Tyquan Thornton. So a great tournament play, if you're considering the Patriots passing game, is Kendrick Bourne. Finally, the most impactful injury for the Arizona side, Rondale Moore is indeed out. Didn't practice all week with that groin injury. But his backup, Greg Dortch, who is one of the true wide receiver backups who will step into a legitimate role in DFS, just $2,200, and he's likely going to be the starting slot receiver tonight. When he's played, we've seen pretty heavy target shares, 9, 10, 10 targets, and at $2,200, he should be really popular. The one word of caution, however, is we haven't seen a game yet where DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown and Greg Dortch have all played. Now, naturally, he'll likely see less targets as a result, but he's going to have basically a full-time role at $2,200, traditionally in a role that has been very healthy for fantasy. So we have to consider Greg Dortch pretty heavily. Now, let's talk about low-risk contests. 50-50s, double-ups, head-to-heads. Just have to beat half the field to double our money. Let the field make mistakes. We play the mispricings. We play the values. So obviously Stevenson, we get him in first. Now we can play Kyler Murray. James Conner is going to dominate opportunities since Eno Benjamin has left. James Conner is going to be a workhorse. Mac Jones, quarterback here. $3K left per player. Now we can fit in, if we want Greg Dortch, if we want Tyquan Thornton, if we want the kickers and defenses, we can fit this in as well. If you don't want to play Mac Jones and instead you want to drop down to Hollywood or multiple mid-range guys, you can do that as well. But these three especially are the keys to low-risk contests tonight. If we go over to FanDuel, obviously it's a little trickier, but we play Kyler, we play Ramondre, we play Mac Jones. Can we get in James Conner as well? No, we can't. So we'll have to choose between this. But James Conner, $1,000 price savings over Mac Jones. Both these guys are going to be popular. Either way, you can play this. Stevenson and Murray can be interchanged at the MVP spot. Still lean Stevenson for his raw projection. But let's just take one of these guys out. Let's say we don't want Mac Jones. 82.50 per player. Again, we have Hunter Henry, starting tight end. We have Parker, who's 7,500. Dortch, who's 7K. Thornton, who is 6,500. Bourne is 5,500. So tons of value plays to make this work. And again, so these two, Kyler and Stevenson, and then your preference between Mac Jones and James Conner. And again, you can check out our occupied model to see projected ownership. Whoever's highest owned is probably the better play in low risk contests. So make sure you check out the model before you build your lineups tonight. All right, let's go over to high risk contests, and this is where it gets interesting tonight, as it always does. But because of the mispricing on Stevenson, again, it's insane that he's only 8,800. I can't stress that enough. But the fact that he's 8,800 and the fact that we have all these cheaper guys in Dortch, even Trey McBride to an extent, the starting tight end. Robbie Anderson should play some snaps tonight. Tyquan Thornton, Aguilar at 5K, Bourne 5,400. These guys are underpriced. They can outperform guys that are priced much higher than them because of their expanded roles. Jacoby Myers either wasn't expected to be out or DraftKings just didn't care and priced these guys. Same with FanDuel, and just priced the receivers however they wanted to. So it makes for an issue. And the other thing here is we have to look at this range, this pricing range. If we look at from Devontae Parker, who's 5,800, and we look up to Ramondre Stevenson, who is 8,800. So from 5,900 all the way up to 8,700, there is one play you can make, and it's Marquise Brown, $7,600. So a nearly $3,000 pricing gap, 5,900 to 8,800, where there's only one playable player. If we don't have other slates like that. Normally it's $1,500, $1,000, maybe $2,000 sometimes, but $3,000 is a massive gap. So what does that mean when we see that and we think about that? That means we can leave a lot of salary on the table tonight and not worried about, because generally when we leave salary, the player that we put in has to outscore a couple of players above them. But if there's a $3,000 gap, there's really no one to outscore above them. So the number one way tonight to get an advantage on the field is to leave salary on the table. Salary really doesn't matter tonight on either site. So I would say play heavily the popular captains. Ramondre Stevenson is popular for a reason. Play him heavily. D-Hop, Kyler Murray, James Conner. These top 4 or 5 guys, play them heavily at the captain spot on DraftKings. And then just get different by leaving salary on the table, playing these New England wide receivers, playing Greg Dortch, playing the kickers and defenses. All these guys can outscore players that are priced 3,000 above them. In some cases, there aren't players priced 3,000 above them. So generally, in high-risk contests on DraftKings, the largest contest, we're thinking, oh, we'll leave 500 to 1,000. The largest contest, maybe up to 2,000, 3,000, how crazy the lineup gets. That is easily well within the range of outcomes tonight. So however much you would normally leave, add another $500 to it, add another $1,000 to it. Lower that salary floor, lower that salary ceiling, and it's an easy way to get different tonight. The same applies to FanDuel as well. We should see Stevenson and Murray get 70 to 80% of the MVP ownership, and rightfully so. Play those guys, right? And then get different and leave salary with the New England wide receivers, with Greg Dortch. Very easy to get different. Now, if you don't want to leave salary, you find some lineups you really like. Again, 80% of the MVP is on those 2 guys on FanDuel. What happens if D-Hop catches 2 touchdowns? He's likely the optimal MVP, and less than 10% of the field is going to have him. Or in a lower scoring game, or even a higher scoring game, let's say the touchdown variance goes to the passing game of Mac Jones. We actually saw it against Minnesota where he scored 23 points. If he leads the slate in scoring, we're talking less than 5% MVP, and we know he has all those receivers to pair with him. You play Mac Jones at MVP, pair him with 2 of those Patriots receivers, even Stevenson who catches passes, and that's another differentiated path in the largest contest on FanDuel. So that'll do it for this video. It seems pretty straightforward, but there are a lot of intricacies that we need to think about here. So after this video, later this afternoon, make sure you go read our daily plug at OccupyFantasy.com. Our writer Bismo will give Overall slate notes, in-depth metrics, lineup ideas. He'll rank players for different contest types on both sites, and he'll give lineup construction tips, specific lineup construction tips on low risk, on small field high risk contests, and large field high risk contests for both sites. Really an in-depth roadmap, goes more in-depth than I can in these videos, so make sure you go check that out. The link is in the description below. Check out our Occupy model, which has projected ownership. If you're deciding between players, if you're trying to figure out who will be popular and who will not be, the model is your friend. Plus, it ranks players based on our proprietary metrics. Go check it out. And our lineup builder, if you're trying to build and see how different players fit together, get some different lineup ideas. The lineup builder is your friend. Build up to 300 lineups using our optimal lineup criteria. With projected ownership, everything you need to crush a showdown slate, occupyfantasy.com. Check it out. All the links are in the description below. Before we get out of here, if you made it this far, we appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed if you like the content, because we're putting out multiple videos per day. There's a chance that you may not see this video again in the future, even if we're doing this every Monday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is, because of the YouTube algorithm. But if you're subscribed, that's an easy way to see it. So do us a favor, make sure you're subscribed. It helps you out, see these videos again. Give us a thumbs up, lets us know to continue to make these videos, helps others find this video as well if you found it helpful. Any questions, you can always comment on this video. We'd love to hear your comments. So go ahead and comment below. Your thoughts on the slate, any questions about the slate. We'll get back to you before the slate starts. If you want to join our Discord server, have in-depth conversations, talk with other members of the community, talk with staff at Occupy Fantasy, join at occupyfantasy.com/Discord. That'll do it for this video. Appreciate you listening. As always, Brian Jester, Occupy Fantasy, and good luck tonight.